Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're tuning in. This is our week two recap, week three preview of Tailgate Trash Talk, brought to you by Backyard Sports. I got Bentley with me. Enjoys college game day. How you doing, bud?
Oh, as I was telling you in our little pre-show meeting, whatever you gonna call it, I'm tempering my
The
excitement.
huddle.
Yeah, I'm tempering my excitement. It's week three. I gotta, I'm the tell you what, Gary. If we're back on the show in 2 weeks and South Carolina's 4-0, oh Lord, going into that Ole Miss game.
We're tracking for a tattoo.
Oh God damn it! Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Cur- currently, the University of South Carolina Gamecocks is the number one seed in the SEC. Not a big deal. It is what it is. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, number one seed in the SEC, on pace to make the playoff, undefeated on the season, on pace to win a national title. We're on pace for a sleeve tattoo, not just not just a tattoo. For those who don't know, I made a bet with a friend of mine, and I said that if South Carolina wins the SEC, I will get a commemorative tattoo, and if the University of South Carolina wins the national title, I will get an entire sleeve done. So
I'm here for it.
me
we'll go
too.
we'll go live for it.
I'll stream it. Fuck it. Why not?
Well, hey, we had some pretty good action last week. One huge, not monumental, I guess, but huge upset, and a couple other kind of mild scares. But let's jump right into it, man. We come out the gates with Texas, Michigan. Texas kind of puts it on them a bit. That Michigan offense, man, it feels like Sharon
What
Moore
Michigan
is like,
offense?
well, that's fair, right? That's fair. It feels like Sharon Moore is well aware that they don't have a quarterback. Like they have two, but they don't have like when you have two, you have none. And Donovan Edwards can't do it all. And that offensive line is young. They're not as good as they've been in the past. They were the beneficiaries the last couple of years that they made their playoff runs, their runs to the national title, to the national championship this past year. That they had an offensive line that had really, for the most part, been together for the better part of 3 years, right? And grew together, worked together, learned together, molded. That offensive line was phenomenal, winning the best offensive line award 1 year and being runner up the next year to Washington. And like they were just phenomenal. And it was a big part of the success of Michigan. They don't quite have that this year. They've got studs. I think, that are going to be really good in probably 2026, right? They may have the best offensive line in 2026, but they don't have it this year, man. In Texas, it really showed. They're just kind of head and shoulders above like where Michigan is right now, talent wise. And man, I know we talked a lot the last couple of years about like Texas and Oklahoma heading to the SEC. Like, are they actually going to want to go to the SEC because the SEC beats each other up all the time? Texas looks like they might be okay, right? Talk to me a little bit about this game. Talk to me about Texas kind of going forward.
Yeah. So as regular viewers of the show know, last year I was all in on Texas. I was like, Texas is back. Texas is back. And then coming into the offseason, hey, what's up, man? What's
Hey,
up?
Dad.
Going to the offseason, they lose Jonathan Brooks. They lose Xavier, whatever his name was.
Worthy.
Well, yeah, they lost Xavier Worthy, but they lost their starting running back coming into the
Oh,
season for
yeah.
the entire season. Xavier may be the wrong name, but they lost Worthy, they lost AD Mitchell, they lost Kyle Whittingham, or not Whittingham,
Jordan Whittington.
Jordan Whittington. That one, Kyle
Kyle
Whittingham,
Whittingham, the coach of Utah.
he's still coaching at Utah. Yeah, apologies, as we know, names not my specialty here. I just thought there was a lot of talent out the door, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was a little bit more down on them, and we talked previous episodes about them. Actually, the preseason episode about how we figured them and Oklahoma would fare coming into the SEC. What I failed to account for in my kind of offseason realization was Quinn Ewers is now better than he was last year, and I didn't like account for that going forward. uh, yeah, they're still really good. They could be a problem when Georgia goes there, and I believe 2 Saturdays from now. I think it's that.
Soon. It's soon. That's a
It
big
might,
matchup. Soon.
is it August 12th? Is it that stacked Saturday? No, it's the week after.
don't
It's the
think-
19th of
I was gonna
October.
say I don't think they play quite that weekend, but
Yeah, Texas, and
that would be nuts if
weekend.
that was also that weekend.
Oh my god. A 4-0 undefeated South Carolina hosting Ole Miss? Like what?
Right.
Yeah. So I'm tentatively back on the Texas is back bandwagon. Just the things I saw from Quinn Ewers making the strides that he has going against a defense that I believe you and I still think is very good there in Ann Arbor. But you made a good point about the offensive line. They have 5 new starters this year. I think they lost 18 players from the national championship squad. And unless your name is Nick Saban or Kirby Smart, we understand how difficult it is to reload after losing that much talent to the NFL or just graduation. So Michigan is in for a long year, I think. Don't want to tip any picks here, but I think they could struggle going forward through the rest of their schedule. But Texas is good. Texas is really, really good. Texas is really fucking good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Ewers is going to afford them some luxuries here while they bring along some guys that are replacing, like you mentioned, all the talent they lost. 3 wide receivers to the NFL. Jonathan Brooks was hurt last year during the playoff, but he is awesome. He's expected to be a good NFL back as well. So, and you mentioned the other number of players that they lost and to be able to come out the gates and beat a team like Michigan that they really move the ball against that defense. And I agree with you. I think we're kind of in lockstep on the fact that their defense is going to be fine. It's the offense that's really the struggle. And you felt that as the game progressed, where Michigan's defense it really just ended up outmanned, outgunned, fatigued. And when you can't sustain drives on offense, it felt like Michigan was basically like run on first down right, run on second down left, and then we're going to try to dump one to the tight end and then we're going to punt, right? And just hope and pray that Texas makes 15 mistakes on offense and maybe we can win this thing. It was not good. It was not good for sure. And they're going to struggle. I think they might be in for a really long season there in Ann Arbor for sure.
We should have known that Texas was going to blow them out whenever we saw Steve Sarkisian walk into the stadium wearing one pair of sunglasses and then walk out on the sideline wearing a different pair of sunglasses.
He was feeling it. Yeah, we're going to talk Syracuse, man. Off to a good start. I've talked a lot about how the schedule falls for them. They got a top 25 win thanks to Georgia Tech upsetting Florida State. So we're going to talk about that here in a moment. But yeah, my Orange are doing pretty well right now to start the season.
Are you – hold on, before we move on to that note,
Yep.
top 25 win thanks to Georgia Tech. Are you a revisionist history? Are you like when you look at the schedule at the end of the year and you go back and look, are you, hey, this is a top 25 win?
I won't do it with Cuse. I don't have that luxury.
So
I am typically, right? I usually will look back and be like, that's not an actual top 25 win, right? Like I'm with you. I'm with you. I won't do it with Cuse though.
Yeah, because when I do
that very often.
Exactly. I look at where that team was ranked that week.
Right.
At the end of the year, that's a totally different squad.
Yep.
Absolutely. I look at it at that week. Where were they ranked?
Exactly. Like it's a top 25 win, man.
Yes, 100%. Okay, I'm just double checking.
Yeah, for sure. There will be like if I'm comparing resumes, if we're talking like nip tuck for a team getting in the playoff versus not, we can have a conversation about like who that team was when they played them, but still a top 25 win, right? It's still on the resume. So we're going to claim it and we're going to ride that all the way. Thanks, Georgia Tech. Thank you, Florida State, for being terrible out the gates. Penn State really struggled with Bowling Green. James Franklin, I guess, decided he wasn't going to wait for a top 25 matchup to fill his shoes. Talk to me a little bit about this, man. Is this sign of things to come for Penn State? Because we've heard from the pundits, and I've said it myself, that like this is a very talented Penn State team, right? If you look just at the roster without looking at the head coach, without looking at the history of this team and how bad they are against good teams, this is a really talented Penn State team. Probably the most talented team that James Franklin's had. You might be able to look at, I don't know, maybe when McSorley was there, they had a really good team as well. But like this feels like if he doesn't do it this year, this might be it for James Franklin. And to really struggle against Bowling Green, I'm curious to get your thoughts here on this Penn State team. I know you were sour on them last year when I was high on them, and you were right. and we're both real tentative about it this year because they've burned us, or burnt me especially. What are your thoughts here on this Penn State team after really like threatening to lose outright to Bowling Green?
Yeah. I don't know that I'm as tentative on them as you might be. I know that you said to remove the name, remove the head coach. But that's not how this game works.
No, not at all. I agree with you.
Like I 100% agree. They have talent. It's a phenomenal roster, right? They lost Chuck Robinson to the NFL. They lost an offensive lineman to the NFL. Like there are guys that are not in the building this year that were there last year, but like they're still a very good team. They're probably, I don't know, we can quabble about Oregon, but they're the third or fourth best team in the Big Ten, right? But James Franklin still has the headset on, and they still play in Happy Valley, and it's like there's just bad juju around that franchise at the moment. Or the program, I guess I should say. It's college, the program. Bad vibes around the program. Had they gone out and won by 25 against Bowling Green, you might have been able to like kind of convince me that they're better than what I think they are. But like you said, they threatened to lose outright to a Bowling Green team, and hats off to Bowling Green, I guess. But it's the same old Penn State that we see every single year.
Right. That's probably a Bowling Green team that's going to struggle to be bowl eligible this year, and Penn State almost lost outright to them. At least they didn't. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. But Oklahoma State, they take care of business against Arkansas barely by the hook.
Yeah.
We won this one by the hook in overtime. This didn't look good for a while. Bobby Petrino's got that Arkansas offense rolling. It seems like they've got some confidence on that side of the ball. Oklahoma State was eventually able to break through, ran them down, got to overtime, win 39-31, covered the 7.5 by exactly the hook. Talk to me a little bit. Are you worried about Okie State? Are you worried about how high we were on Ollie Gordon to start the year?
I'm not. I think this Arkansas team is better than people expected coming in. They're often, you lose your quarterback, you lose your All-American running back. Granted, he hadn't been good in like a couple of years, but when he was a freshman and sophomore there, he was All-American level guy.
Yep.
I really think that so the current starting running back, Jaquindon Jackson, went for $149 in this game. He was averaging 6 yards a carry, and then he got hurt late in that game. There's like a cramping issue, I believe, and then Oklahoma State obviously won in overtime. That Bobby Petrino offense is humming down there with Taylor Green behind center. I mean, with Jackson going down, I really think was the difference in the game because they had nothing. They had no answer for him. The Pokes didn't, right? So it's like I feel better about Arkansas coming out of that game than I do feel worse about Oklahoma State, right? Ollie Gordon, folks will remember back in like February, kind of like a wrap-up show, I gave out Ollie Gordon to win the Heisman this year at like 24-1 or whatever it was, or 240-1. I still think he has a chance. My pick is now switched to a different running back in the country. We can talk about later. But I still believe in Ollie Gordon, someone that talented, doesn't have 2 bad weeks in a row. He's still a freak of nature, and he's going to carry the ball 70,000 times this year. As long as they can figure a way to kind of get that offensive line to pave some holes for him, I think that Oklahoma State will be fine going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel a lot better about Arkansas. It was weird, 2 years ago, we're all talking, Sam's got them going, and that Arkansas team, they might be, something to be reckoned with in the SEC. And then last year they kind of lay an egg. And you bring in Bobby Petrino, a guy with a checkered past, but a guy that undeniably can run an offense, right? He can get an offense going, and it has an immediate impact for Arkansas. So they've got it going there. We're going to figure out what the name is. They're going to have some sort of playoff pig or razorback or whatever for the offense, but something like Dairy Raid, whatever that translates to in the pork world. We'll see what they come up with. But that offense is running, right?
The flying pigs.
The flying pigs, right? Pigs are flying. There you go. I like it. But yeah, I'm with you. Oklahoma State, I think, is probably the same team I expected them to be this year, even after a couple of games where they sputtered just a touch. But I still think they're going to be fourth in the Big 12, maybe something like that, somewhere around there, third, fourth, possibly, maybe. But Yeah, we'll see. I don't know that I lost any faith in them that I might have had to start the season. I'm with you on that though. Moving on, Tulane continues to do Tulane things for us. They had a chance to win this game outright, though, man. They've got to really feel like they missed an opportunity here to pick up a win against a top 25 team in Kansas State. They had them on the ropes, and they started to turn the ball over, and it fell apart for them. They end up holding on for the cover, so we appreciate that for our receipts. But losing this game 34-27, I believe, was the final score. And, man, it feels like a heartbreaker. They've got a freshman at quarterback, though, right? And we knew after Pratt left that they were going to be looking for a quarterback. And they had brought in a transfer guy who ended up losing the job to a freshman who likes to move. He's a little bit electric, but he's also a lot of bit careless with the ball. So they're really going to have to rein that in if they're going to be a good team this year, if they're going to challenge for a conference championship after losing a guy who went to the NFL and Michael Pratt. So talk to me a little bit about Kansas State, Tulane. How do you feel about these two teams after leaving this game?
Well, Tulane, for the record, is 2-0 against the spread this year, once again.
Yes, they are.
So, they, like you said earlier, just Tulane doing Tulane things, and we appreciate that. But I have the same concern coming out of this game that I had going into this game, and this will play a factor when we get to the Friday night matchup. I still don't know if Avery Johnson can throw the ball.
Right.
The game-breaking play was
an incredible athlete.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. No doubt about it. I know that he can throw the ball. I don't know that he can pass the ball. How about that?
There you go.
The game-breaking play where he hit a running back on a wheel route on a busted coverage by the outside corner. Like, that was the difference in this game. And then obviously overtime and it was the whole thing, right? But, like, are they good? Or I guess it wasn't overtime. It came down to the end drive that
Tulane had the
ball. Yeah, and then they turned it over in the red zone. Mensa, that quarterback for Tulane, though, like you said, is electric. The boy could scoot a little bit, and he could pass the hell out of the ball. They have a couple weapons. I think Tulane's really good. And you said it to me Saturday, they have the best kid in the game. I mean, they are clean every time they walk on that field. It's incredible. So, once again, I love Tulane, but I have the same concerns about Avery Johnson coming out of the game that I did going in. I don't know that he can pass the ball proficiently yet in that Kansas State offense. Now, come to the end of the year, maybe I will feel differently. But he has to show me something against ranked teams going forward throughout the rest of the Big 12 schedule to get me to buy in to him being an elite level quarterback instead of just an elite level athlete in D1 college football.
Yeah, for sure. Agree 100%. All right, moving on. The big game of the weekend, Georgia Tech, Syracuse. I took Syracuse plus the points, and I told you last week that I would lay a ticket on Syracuse money line against Georgia Tech. I did, and I cashed it. Syracuse wins 31-28, kind of holding on at the end of this one. They had a pretty big lead, and I think they went into a bit of a shell too early, trying to run the clock out instead of keeping the offense going. Kyle McCord looked good. Aronde Gadsden, I'll say it again this week. If you don't know him yet, you're going to know him next year if your team drafts him as a tight end. Unless somehow they can convince him to stick around like I did in my my dynasty. I was able to keep him for 2 years. He's a fucking monster, man. Yep. He's unbelievable. He's a guy that by the end of the season, I think he's going to be on everybody's radar. He may win the tight end award. And he might end up being like a Brock Bowers kind of middle of the first round draft pick next year. He is big, he's physical, and he's very athletic for the tight end position. And it's not surprising because if you don't know, his father played in the NFL and played wide receiver in the NFL and was a bit of a freak athlete himself. Maybe not the best wide receiver that played during his time, but very much a freak athlete. Good genes, and Aronde Jr. is doing big things for Syracuse. They've got a couple of wide receivers that are playing really well. Trebor and Zeke Haynes is a nice transfer out of Georgia, and they've got a couple of running backs that can carry the load a bit. And Kyle McCord is just playing good quarterback. Like, that was my big concern coming into this season is, are we going to get Kyle McCord, who was a 5-star quarterback out of high school and won the Ohio State job? Or are we going to get Kyle McCord, who seemed to struggle quite a bit in that Ohio State offense at times when they really asked him to be a quarterback and pass the ball? So far through 2 games, we're getting good Kyle McCord. not great, good. And I said it, and I'll say it every week until they lose a game. This schedule is very favorable for Syracuse to make some noise in the ACC. And man, if you can just steal one at the end of the season against Miami, you might go fuck around and win an ACC title and make the playoff. Like, the schedule is so favorable this year. And I'm gonna warn everybody who's a Syracuse fan, if you haven't played college football 25, next year it gets much harder. The schedule picks up a lot next year. So this is the year. If we're gonna make some noise, Syracuse has got an opportunity. But I like what I've seen through 2 games. I like what I've seen in terms of the change in the program. I didn't necessarily think Dino Babers did a bad job, but Fran Brown has come in and really put his stamp on. We're going to play a little more high pace on offense. We're going to open it up and spread it out a little bit. We've got some athletes. We're not going to be super conservative like we were under Babers. And of course, bringing in a guy like Kyle McCord helps a lot. And they're playing some decent defense. So we'll see. They've got that schedule, and they miss several teams in the ACC that could potentially trip them up. They don't play Florida State. They play NC State. They play Clemson, who's down. Miami's the big one at the end of the year, obviously on the schedule, but we'll see. The ACC doesn't feel like it's insurmountable this year, and we'll see how Boston College continues to play. All right, I'll get off my soapbox. Your turn.
I mean, you made a lot of really good points. I could not help, while I'll be honest, I was monitoring the game. I did not put eyes on this one. I don't have a wall of I have multiple TVs. I don't have a wall of TVs. I cannot help but think, man, my Ohio State ticket to win the national title is like, I feel worse about it now because I see the coaching job that Fran Brown is doing in Syracuse with Kyle McCord, who is, by the way, the 3rd leading passer in college football this year. I believe he's 2nd in touchdowns with 8. And I think, boy, that guy was at Ohio State and they lost to Michigan 3 years in a row. Granted, he wasn't the quarterback for all those, but like
with the guys that they had,
that with Marvin Harrison Jr. you lost to Michigan. Okay, sick. Now, granted, Chip Kelly was not there. Quinshon Judkins was not in the building. I get it. Like the teams are different now. That's college football. That's how that works. But Kyle McCord is lighting the world on fire up there in Syracuse, and nobody's really paying attention outside of you and probably your dad. But like, I mean, you mentioned it. The tight end, junior, whatever his name is, Gadsden. Yeah, he's incredible. I'll give you that. You called it going into the year. That dude is nuts. They're playing incredibly. As long as their defense can hold up, their offense is going to keep them in these games. And if they can sneak Miami at the end of the year, I'm gonna pick Miami in that game. But if they can sneak Miami at the end of the year, who knows, man? Who knows? Yeah,
for sure. It feels good to actually have some Syracuse football you can root for, man.
Yeah,
I tell you. All right. Last Georgia played, and I forget the name, but it was Tennessee Tech, I believe, or whatever no-name team it was. Georgia boat raced them. Not a lot to learn from this game. Georgia looks like the team that should have won by 50. We'll see going forward. Georgia's schedule gets start to get into the meat of their schedule here shortly. So, all right. And the stunner of the week that Penn State avoided the stunner of the week. They would have been a bigger favorite to have lost at 34.5, but Notre Dame at 4 touchdown favorite against Northern Illinois. They looked like a team. I don't want to say this as if like I believe this is what happened. I'm saying this from like the perception of what was going on the field. All right. I love Marcus Freeman. I love what he's done there. I love him as a coach. I think he's a guy who can really coach up those players. But Notre Dame looked like a team that had just won the most important game on their schedule and was looking ahead to the USC game in like week 14, as if like we had a bunch of tomato cans until the USC game, and that was like our playoff bid, and they got smacked in the mouth for it. This Northern Illinois team was not taking any fucking stink from them, and they fucking beat them outright. 28-point dogs beat them outright. Am I wrong? Like, what happened in this game?
Well, Riley Leonard threw 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
That's Riley Leonard may not be good. uh, Notre Dame gave up an 83-yard touchdown catch. It's kind of a dump and run type deal.
Yep.
That's not going to happen again all year long. I can almost guarantee you that. And Northern Illinois wanted it more.
Yep.
They drug Notre Dame down into the mud and were the more physical team on both sides of the line.
Yep.
Capping it all off by blocking the field goal attempt from my boy Mitch Jeter.
Yeah.
I felt bad for him sending him out there to kick that long field goal. It's like you have to, But I agree with you. We talk about letdown spots, trap games, all that kind of stuff. This is the epitome of all of that. You win, you go to College Station, game day is there, you have a big win on the road, you shut down Kyle Field, the whole deal, and then you come home and you lose to a MAC team. Like, that's just college football in a nutshell. And that, the Coach Heyman getting emotional on the sideline after he's an NIU lifer. He played running back at NIU. He was roommates with PJ Fleck. They're still friends to this day. Like, he's got Devin White, former Wisconsin running back, when he was the running backs coach there, on his staff. Like, he talked about it in this new era of college football, transfer portal and NIL stuff. He talked about building a family and a community and a culture and a program, and that he was crying on the sideline. And that, you can't watch an interview and not swell up like a little bit. That is what this game is about.
I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking back to that interview, dude.
Yeah, that is what is so romantic about college football, and why those are the things you don't get on Sundays, right? Is like, we watched the Niners beat the Jets, and that was cool, and Aaron Rodgers, it was good to see him back on the field, and even though there's Mr. Irrelevant, the whole story about that with Brock Purdy, whatever, but like, Kyle Shanahan didn't go out and cry on the sideline because he was so proud of his guys that he recruited all 80 or 74 or whatever the roster size is now. Coach Hammond went out and recruited every single one of those players that's on that NIU team, and he took them into Notre Dame, and he drug Notre Dame down into a rock fight, and they beat the shit out of Notre Dame at their own stadium by playing the game that Notre Dame wants to play, the bully ball.
Yep.
That is what makes college football so special, and that is why I will never, ever give this game up, no matter how many teams they put in the playoff.
Don't tell the CFP committee that, though.
Well, yeah, I'm not FBI guy. Stop listening. We could see. So I listened to a Hammond interview today, and he called the coach of Notre Dame, whose name I'm forgetting right now. He called Marcus Freeman and said, "Hey, I'm rooting for you guys going forward. I will give you our tape and our game plan to help you prepare going forward throughout the rest of the year." And I heard that, and I thought, a MAC team could make the playoff. We could see this matchup again because NIU is currently ranked. If they run the table, they could make the playoff.
The MAC, they're picked to be right at the top of the MAC.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't be handing over that game tape too quickly.
Not quite yet.
No, not yet. Not yet.
You might be going to South Bend in the playoff potentially, or they might be coming to your house.
I was going to say South Bend might be going to them.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, big win, man. Big program win, and like you mentioned, that's a guy whose roots are right there at NIU, and man, it's just to see that emotion and how much it meant to him, and what it means to those players. That's such a big deal.
Yeah.
All right, shifting gears to Utah against Baylor, and probably Thanos snapped his fingers and said, "I am inevitable," and Cam Rising got hurt.
Yeah.
Luckily for those of us who have some Utah stock this year and some Cam Rising stock, it doesn't appear to be a big deal. I think it's more of like a jammed finger. X-rays came back negative. We saw on the sideline, it is on his throwing hand though, so that's the big concern, whether he's going to play this weekend. Now, we'll talk about it in a moment. They play Utah State this weekend. Probably not a big deal if they do pull him out of this game, but holy shit, did that offense look anemic.
Yep.
With Isaac Wilson under center. And my fucking pick, my ticket that I had in went right down the shitter. Yep. Because Utah was covering at half and should have covered at the end of this game. And they were just holding on for dear life with Isaac Wilson under center, letting that defense do what that defense does, hold that lead. But man, what what a night and day team this Utah team is with and without Cam Rising. And I got a funny anecdote for you. My buddy lives in the Salt Lake area, and he was telling me that after the debate last night, there were like 3 local reports of like results from the debate, yada, yada, yada. The most read article at the local news outlet was about the quarterback dilemma at Utah.
Yep.
That's how important Cam Rising is to this fucking team.
Yeah.
Talk to me, man. Talk to me about this game. And God, we just what sage do we have to burn to make sure that his finger is okay?
Can we get him another year eligibility? Because I mean,
Right.
next year might be the one.
Anyway.
Yeah, like next year might be the one for him. He could be healthy going into year 7. No, I mean they're a Cam Rising team and they're not a Cam Rising team, right? You said night and day difference with him under center, with him on the sideline. And we were talking when it happened, and I said, I sent you a text that there he is on the sideline in street clothes, and it's like, well, there goes our ticket, and I mean, credit to Baylor, good for them going into Utah and playing a decent game. They didn't play a bad game, right? But we all understand that the wind kind of came out of the sails when you see Cam Rising come out in street clothes. It's like, we just got to hang on, lean on that defense and hope that our offense doesn't give him a short field too many times in a row. So I feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for Kyle Whittingham. I feel bad for the Utah fans. Like, I'm hoping he's going to be okay. I would not be shocked if he doesn't play this week, just out of precaution. For the sake of my pick, I hope he does. But but
I was real tossed up when making that pick, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, for sure. I feel a little bad for Isaac Wilson too, because like all indications are that like they think he can be a guy to play, but like it's clear that he's not ready and he's not Cam Rising. And I think he knows how much Cam Rising means to like that team and the university and the fan base. It's a tough spot to be in, man. And I hope, if they have a week of preparation with him, they can get the offense, get it comfortable. But man, it's a tough spot to be in for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Iowa State, and what a weird finish to this game. Iowa drops one to Iowa State, and not a good Iowa State team. At least I didn't expect them to be good this year. Don't expect them to compete at the top of the Big 12. Didn't think they had enough juice to score on this Iowa defense, and you end up getting 20 points on them. For the record, the over hit in this after Iowa State scored their final points to win the game.
Yep.
20-19. And after a week 1 where you started to think, like, does Iowa finally have an offense? Because they got hot in the second half of that game. They come out and lay another egg on offense. Are they ever going to fucking figure it out there in Iowa City? Jesus.
I mean, obviously not a great loss. You never want to lose to your in-state rival, an unranked opponent, right? I'm not as worried. This was similar to the Notre Dame game where Notre Dame gave up that 83-yard touchdown. Iowa gave up a 75-yard score. Like, these are things that just don't regularly occur to defenses of that caliber, right? As to the offense, yikes. I mean, you scored 7 points in the second half. Like, that's not good, man. You scored 7 points in the final 40 minutes of the game, actually. Like,
really, yeah.
Or I mean, you gotta figure it out. Like, there's nothing. It's the same story, Kirk Ferentz walks out to Many Men by 50 Cent, and you go out and you lay an egg on offense. Like, what's more Iowa than that?
Right.
You just don't get the defensive or special team score that you're kind of used to, and I guess we have to live and operate in a world now where like Iowa is going to give up some points. I guess that's because the previous 2 seasons they give up no points like ever.
Right.
And now I guess they're giving up points. Who knows?
Yeah. Louisville goes out and handles business against Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State actually put up a decent fight in the first half of this. I actually was listening to this one on Sirius because it was kind of at a weird time slot where like games were either getting blown out in the first time slot and this was starting, and then it was not quite into the late window. Interesting game to listen to in the first half of this. Jacksonville State put up a fight, but Louisville just kind of outclassed them and walked away from them. Rich Rod's got them boys fighting down there, man. That dual threat quarterback is Rich Rod's specialty, going back all the way to Pat White at West Virginia. And he showed it again this weekend because that Louisville defense was having a lot of problems with, I forget his name, but the quarterback for Jacksonville State in the first half.
I believe it's Tyler Huff.
I think that's right. Yeah, that sounds familiar. But he had a pretty good first half, but Louisville kind of gapped them late in the game. Ole Miss handled business against Middle Tennessee State. Not a lot to learn from this. Lane's got the boys running. Miami hammered down on Florida A&M. Alabama didn't cover. Didn't cover. What is it about USF, man? They seem to have Alabama's number. Last year, they nearly beat them outright. The Jalen Milroe gets benched game, which eventually led to like Jalen Milroe's redemption, 4th and 35, right? But struggled again this year, and they pulled away late, and they looked a little better in the second half than they did the first half. More so like the fourth quarter versus the first 3 quarters. What is it about South Florida, man, that they seem to have Bama's number and really give them fucking fits?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I posed the theory that it's the dual threat quarterback really is just a problem in all of college football, because you remember for years when Saban was there, that was like, oh, you need a dual threat guy. Look at Deshaun Watson,
Manziel.
And it turns out everyone struggles with dual threat quarterbacks because
not a good one.
Yeah, Brown had 100 yards passing and 100 yards rushing. It's like, and also Alabama turned the ball over 3 times. USF did not turn the ball over at all. That's going to be anytime you lose the turnover battle. But people will tell you this all the time. Anyone who knows football, when you lose the turnover battle, oftentimes you lose the game.
Yeah,
that was obviously not the case.
3.
Yeah, exactly. Like you lose it by 3, you're probably getting blown out. Turn around and look at the scoreboard. Alabama blows out South Florida. So I think it was just kind of a messy game from Alabama. Again, they're in game 2 under Kalen DeBoer. They're still figuring it out there. They still have. They're one of the 5 most talented teams in the country. Relax. Pump the brakes. The brakes. They're going to be fine.
It was similar timing last year, too, and that might be the biggest thing, right? Early in the season, Jalen Milroe was the first-time starter last year. I think it was his second game starting, playing against South Florida last year, and second game under Kalen DeBoer this year. So maybe that's the big thing, right? Early in the season is when you can get a team like Bama if you're a South Florida and play them tough. I'm done betting against Mizzou and their spread lines. I did it in week 1, and they burnt me on a 49.5 line. And I took UB, and they burnt me on a 34.5 line. If UB scores fucking 1 touchdown, I win this bet. But lost it because 38-0 was the final score for Mizzou. Boy, they look pretty good, huh?
They look great. We said it last year multiple times. Eli Drinkwitz says that program headed in the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
I think you and I both kind of teetered on making them a lock to make the playoff in the preseason, and then we ultimately kind of shied away from it. Yep. Maybe foolish on our part.
It might be, man.
6 for 20 and 55 yards passing is not going to get it done from the UB quarterback. Sorry, bud. That's just not going to work.
Nope.
They're really fucking good in Columbia, Missouri there.
I didn't expect the suffocating defense that they've shown. Now, I know it's inferior talent, but like in these games, you can kind of get lost in the second half and just give up like a rinky-dink score that you don't expect to give up. Mizzou hasn't done that.
Nope.
And they've covered 2 enormous spreads against, inferior opponents. But Buffalo's a team in the MAC, right? They're in a respectable conference. But Mizzou looks pretty good, man. And if that defense is going to play that well all year, we know that offense can score. So if they've got any semblance of defense that can be complementary to that offense, they might make some noise in the SEC and might mess around and be a 10 seed in the playoff or something. All right. KU, Illinois, another upset of the weekend. We talked a little bit about it last week. Is Illinois a tough team? Is Illinois going to be able to bully KU a bit? And that's what it looks like they did, man. They controlled the line of scrimmage, ran the ball, controlled the clock, slowed down Jalen Daniels. KU never really got it going. There were kind of spurts and fits and sputters here and there. Illinois played muddy ball, dirty ball. They uglied it up and slowed down what usually is a fairly electric offense for KU. Is Illinois a team to look out for in the Big Ten? I know we've talked about the Big Ten's really heavy top 3, top 4, but is Illinois a team that can kind of sneak in there? And you finish in the top 3 in the Big Ten, you might be threatening to get in the playoff.
Yeah. I don't know. The high-end talent in the Big Ten compared to the top-end talent in the Big 12 is different.
Oh, yeah.
They're probably the 4th or 5th best team in the Big Ten. I was a little worried, or I am a little worried about this Kansas team going forward, more so than I am impressed with Illinois. Now, Illinois played a phenomenal game. Don't get me wrong. You get a guy like Jalen Daniels into a rock fight, and he looked bad, but that's a high-powered offense that's not going to look like that every single week. I have to imagine they're going to get back to scoring a ton of points going forward. Illinois is the better team up front. They won the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. That really kind of swayed it in, their direction at the end of the game. And obviously they won. So good for them. I don't know. Illinois is good. They're not great. I don't see them competing for the Big Ten or anything.
Yeah, I don't either, but I had kind of snuck and looked at their schedule before posing that.
Mm-hmm.
They avoid Ohio State. They avoid USC. They avoid they play Michigan, but they've got Michigan at home. Their toughest 2 games really are at Penn State, at Oregon, and we know what Penn State can do against good competition. They've got Nebraska on the road this week. I'm going to be really interested to see how that Nebraska game plays out.
Next week.
Or next week, I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah. Next week. They got a kind of tomato can this week, but I'll be interested to see how that Nebraska game plays out with Illinois and whether or not they can kind of put themselves in consideration, because you don't have to win the Big Ten, right, to make the playoff. I think the Big Ten probably gets 3 teams in, depending on kind of where the records fall, right? If I'm just spitballing, probably you're looking at maybe 3 teams from the Big Ten getting in this year with the amount of talent that's there. So if Illinois finishes 3rd in the standings in the Big Ten, they may by default end up a team that threatens to get in the playoff. I'm not real sure, but their schedule isn't a murderer's row. Oregon is a game. Penn State's a game you just don't know, right? So we'll see. Oregon hasn't looked great through 2 weeks either. So are they the number 9 team in the country? We think so with that amount of talent, but hasn't been good. So We'll see. I'm just curious. Illinois, can they continue to play this style of ball and win a bunch of games in the Big Ten? I don't know. We'll see. All right. Speaking of the Big Ten, Ohio State goes and rolls over Western Michigan. They look like they're just going to out-talent everybody until they get up against somebody who's going to be able to stick with them. October 12th, you mentioned that previously. They're going to play Oregon then. Is Oregon a good team? Is Ohio State a good team? I think we're going to find out that weekend, and that might be the team that's got the fast track to winning the Big Ten. Any takeaways from the first couple of weeks of Ohio State? Are you worried at all about them? Is Ryan Day going to fuck this thing up, or is Chip Kelly good enough to overcome Ryan Day?
I think the only thing that holds him back from winning a title is Ryan Day.
Yeah,
but I have to imagine the conversation occurred between Chip Kelly and Ryan Day that said, Chip Kelly, this is your offense.
Yeah, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, I gave up a head coaching job of a team in the Big Ten.
In Los Angeles.
To come run your offense.
Yeah.
Don't come to a single offensive meeting. I will come to your office.
I'll give you the call sheet for the week on Saturday morning.
Yeah. Don't come to my office. I'll come to your office.
I'll have my people call your people.
Yeah, Then his people just so happen to be Jeremiah Smith and Quinshon Judkins and Emeka Ibuke and
all those playmakers.
Travion Henderson. It's whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Tennessee covers against NC State. Tennessee looks kind of scary right now, man. They look kind of scary. if I'm an SEC team and I'm looking at that Tennessee team, that offense is humming with Nico. NC State was expected to have a really good defense this year, and Tennessee moved the ball pretty well against them. NC State's struggling offensively. Grayson McCall has not seemed to settle in well there. But I thought NC State was going to give them problems as far as the defense goes. But, man, Heupel and Nico are really they seem like they got something going, man. And they got some playmakers on the outside still there, despite losing a few over the last couple of years, Jalen Hyatt most notably. They look pretty good on offense, man.
Yeah, they do. I'm more impressed with their defensive line than I am with their offense, honestly. Mm-hmm. Nico hasn't really been asked to do a whole lot yet, but that defensive line is troublesome for folks. One of the best defensive lines in the country. One of.
Yeah, that's been a real pleasant surprise if you're on Rocky Top for sure. All right, LSU against Nichols. Whatever. LSU bounces back from their loss to USC. They got a big game coming this weekend, though. We're going to talk about it in a minute.
They did give up 3.9 yards per carry on the ground against Nichols. So what? I mean, just something to take note of. Just something to take note of.
Clemson bounces back against App State with the big win. App State just seemed to not really ever get going in this game. I don't know if we can expect that from this offense, but they looked like a competent offense this weekend. 49, I think, to 6 was the final score.
Something in that
ballpark. Along those lines. It was a boat race. The line was busted long before the game was over. I don't know. We'll see at halftime. We'll see when Clemson gets back against they'll start ACC play here in a couple weeks. We'll see. Oregon against Boise State. You nailed this, bud. I thought we were going to see Oregon State open up the offense a little bit, and I thought we were going to see Dylan Gabriel look a little more comfortable in that offense. We did not, and Boise State showed a little something. That's a good program up there. They are getting back to what we knew Boise State was back in the Ian Anderson days, etc. But they're starting to turn things back around, and they gave Oregon fits, man. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I mean, once again, Dylan Gabriel, hyper efficient in that offense, just not very explosive.
Yep.
But I talked earlier about Ollie Gordon being my Heisman, my preseason dark horse Heisman. I really think that Jackson Dart is probably the Heisman finalist, but Ollie Gordon, I thought coming into the year was the best running back in the country. I was wrong. It's Ashton Genty. That man went for 267 in week 1 and 6 touchdowns. And they went for another $192 and 3 touchdowns this week against Oregon.
Oh
my God! That dude's a home run threat every single time he touches the ball.
Yep.
I will say, if you're looking for silver linings from an Oregon standpoint, similar to Alabama, they lost the turnover battle by 2 in this game. They turned it over twice, and they still won the game. They needed a field goal as time expired, but you still got to feel. You feel good that you won the game, first off, and you feel good that Dylan Gabriel has been hyper efficient. So it's the lack of explosive offensive plays, because they had a kickoff return and a punt return for a touchdown. So the offense is working, but it's not flashing, right? You're not hitting home runs like you used to with Bucky Irving and when Bo Nix was there slinging it.
Yeah.
I think those will come. I still believe in what Dan Lanning is doing. I was a big Dylan Gabriel fan. I think he's incredible, right? I think that the big plays will come. He's still building that chemistry with Ted Johnson and the rest of those boys on the outside. But boy, did I love watching Genty run the ball. Give me that guy every day of the week. Every day. This is the guy. He is your favorite football player's favorite football player. Yeah. That's who this guy is. He can walk into any running back room in the country, to include Ohio State, and be the number 1 bell cow back for that offense. I assure you of that. Maybe not Oklahoma State.
He's a stud.
Maybe not.
He's a stud.
Yeah.
He is.
Ollie Gordon might give him a run for his money.
Yeah. All right. Arizona against Northern Arizona wasn't great.
Yeah.
But you got the win. They didn't really win going away. we'll see. We'll see. This week they got a big matchup, so we're going to talk about that in just a moment and talk about our confidence in Arizona going forward. SoCal covers against Utah State. Offense looked a little better than it did in week 1 against LSU. Jury's still out for me, though. It's Utah State, and SoCal should smash them. I don't know what we don't know about Miller Moss, right? Like, we'll see. I'm still in kind of wait and see because he didn't look great against LSU, and it's Utah State. And they're just going to out-athlete them. We'll see. So I want to pause before we get into week 3. You got any big takeaways from week 2? Other than Notre Dame laying an egg?
I still think Penn State is who I thought they were coming in.
Yep.
I think that Boise State is going to play upset to some folks.
Yeah.
I think Arkansas is better than people expected. I think the SEC might just be better than people expected. Like I heard folks. I know that it's not popular to say SEC is good, whatever, right? But I heard talk of folks saying like it's really the top end guys. It's Georgia, Texas, and then like Alabama's a step back, Ole Miss is a step back, like Missouri's another step back after that. The SEC might just be fucking good. like Vanderbilt is good. Diego Pavia is lighting the world on fire down there, and Vandy, anchors down. Like, the SEC might just be good, man.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's jump into it, man. Week 3, we come out the gates with, as I mentioned a moment ago, Arizona taking on Kansas State. They travel to the Little Apple for opening of Big 12 play. Kansas State's a 7.5-point favorite. We're both on Arizona. Tell me why. Why you got Arizona here? Is it our soft spot for Arizona, or you think this team is better than they're getting credit for here, being over a touchdown dog?
Yeah. So I see it at 7 here, but I'll take the half point.
Sure.
Similar to what I said.
I did this earlier in the day. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't. Again, I have a bunch of different books open, so maybe.
Oh, that's fair too.
Yeah. But that being said, I have the same worry, like I said about Avery Johnson earlier. Don't know if he can pass the ball, but who can pass the ball is Noah Fafita and his favorite target, Tedero McMillan. I trust those guys empirically. On the road, at home, I don't care. They're going to make the connection. They're going to be able to score points. I'm just going with the devil I know as opposed to the one I don't. And Avery Johnson, he could come out and light him up. He is the home team here. We know, it's a night game, standalone. That's kind of a different atmosphere in college football. I'm just going with the guys I know and trust. It's Fafita and McMillan.
I like that take. That's kind of it for me, too. I know that I'm going to get some points from Arizona. I know that they can score on basically any defense in the country. That is probably the best wide receiver quarterback duo in the country. Give me that against a team that I'm not sure has the horses on offense. We'll see. I know Avery Johnson can move the ball with his legs, but if you get in a game where Fafita's putting up some points and you're going to have to score, they're going to have to put the ball in the air, and we're going to find out if Avery Johnson can pass the ball. Speaking of, I know I shared this picture with you of Avery Johnson, but we keep coming back to College Football 25. Excited it's back, so we're going to talk about it. Avery Johnson in like year 3 of my dynasty I was running with Syracuse transfers to Ohio State and wins the Heisman.
Yeah, of course. Of course he does.
Of course. Bama traveling up to Madison to face the Dairy Raid. 16-point favorites. For me, this is just a gap in talent. Wisconsin is in transition where they're kind of going away from the old hog mollies up front, run the ball, control the clock, to more of kind of that air raid style of offense. And it's not clicking yet. And I just think Bama's got too much talent, man.
Yeah, they've already seen Tyler Van Dyke. They played him when he was at Miami. We know the story. I will say, though, like, if you buy into the strange things happen at 11 o'clock kickoffs in Camp Randall, this may be the spot for it. But then, like, to counteract that point, Alabama's coming off what may be their letdown game.
That's their wake-up call.
Yeah, and now they get it rolling. Now that DeBoer offense picks up speed and nobody can really touch them, right?
Yeah. Yep. All right. Then we have Oklahoma State taking on Tulsa. Oklahoma State's laying 19 points. They haven't looked great against the spread so far this year, but I think they're just head and shoulders above Tulsa. And this might be a game that Ollie Gordon goes for like 220, 4 scores, and the national media starts to say, oh, who's this Ollie Gordon guy? And we're going to say, hey, we've been talking about him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel about Ollie Gordon. We've talked about letdown spots and wake-up calls. I think last week was a wake-up call for Oak State. And Mike Gundy said, hey, we got games to win, boys.
I'm a man.
Yeah, I think Ollie has a big day. I think they probably crushed this spread, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
They're just better than Tulsa.
Yeah, for sure. Oh.
You want to save it? You want to save it?
Let's do it. Let's save it. We're going to save
right.
LSU South Carolina for the end of the show because we're gonna have some fun with it, man. We're gonna have some fun. So we've got Arkansas State, the Red Wolves, a little bit near and dear to my heart because the Commanders were exploring the idea of the Red Wolves. So I have a soft spot for them, but playing Michigan on the road, 23.5-point dogs. My only concern with this line is is Michigan going to score 24 points?
Yep.
Because I don't know that Arkansas State's going to score against that defense. We talked about it earlier. Michigan still got some horses on the defensive side of the ball. Is the offense going to be able to put up 24? Maybe we get a defensive score. Maybe we get a special team score, and that kind of levels the playing field for us. Any worries from you? Same worry?
Same worry. Are they going to score enough points? I don't know that Arkansas State is going to score in this game.
I don't know that they will either.
They did beat Tulsa. Yeah, this could be like a 42-0 game. That probably wouldn't shock me if I'm being honest.
Yeah, for sure.
This would be the game where Alex Orchie comes into the game, and literally the entire stadium knows that he's going to send a man in motion and then just run the ball, and it actually works this time. Yeah, because that's what they do is they put Alex Orchie in the game at quarterback for Michigan.
They send a power run.
Yeah, they send a man in motion, and then he runs it to a 9-man box.
Yep.
They do it every time.
Yep. Oh, nothing like being predictable. We've got ranked on ranked here. Boston College coming off another upset of Florida State. Florida State's taking strays this year, man. Taking strays. Boston College, Nick Castellanos looks really good. Billy O's got him playing tough. 17-point dogs. You're taking the points with BC. I'm not betting against the Mizzou line again this week because they burnt me fucking twice.
Yeah.
Any chance? So you've got the dog taking the points. Any chance that BC pulls off an upset here, or do you think it's just going to be like a 14-point game?
No, I think it's like a 10 to 14-point game. Yeah. Okay. I watched this BC team, and I see a team that is run like a professional organization. Yep. They don't make mistakes. They don't kill themselves, which is important, especially going on the road to an SEC environment.
Yep.
They're able to control the clock as well as anybody in the country. I think if they have the opportunity to just burn clock in this game and make something happen, that's probably what they try to do. This could turn into a boat race very easily. I could look like a fool going into the next week, but I'm taking the risk on the team that has run very, very well, that doesn't kill themselves, and is able to just chew up clock and eat up yards on the ground. And then Castellanos hits a couple shots.
Yeah, I think that's a wise bet, man. It's almost like they're run by a team that was run by a coach that was a professional coach.
Almost
a fairly
like
successful professional coach too.
Yeah.
All right, Oregon State. I probably shouldn't be betting on Oregon again. They've burnt me twice this year. I just don't know what I don't know what I don't know about Oregon State, man. Like they're such an enigma because They literally had 6 guys on their roster last year at one point after the dismantling of the Pac-12 and Oregon State and Wazoo being left kind of holding the bag. Oregon State lost their head coach, and then they just lost everybody. And they were able to bring some guys in, transfer portal, yada, yada. They're 2-0. So obviously they got something going there. I just think that this is probably the week, rivalry game. I think this is probably the week that Oregon wakes up. I'm banking on that. That's what I'm banking on for this 16-point spread. I may be back here next week complaining and saying I'm not fucking betting on Oregon again this year if they burn me a third time. But I think they're going to wake up this week, man.
Can I interest you in 3 running backs, all with 18 or more carries on the season, averaging 5 yards per carry or more?
They are absolutely dominating the offensive trenches. Absolutely.
We just saw what Ashton Genty did to this Oregon team last week.
Yep.
I'm just saying, Ashton Genty is incredible, best running back in the country. But if you got 3 guys who are pretty good, averaging 5+ yards a carry, I'm just saying.
Yeah, that could pose a problem for Oregon for sure. I just think they're going to wake up offensively. We're going to start to see some of the explosives. They got so many fucking athletes on that offense for it to be like dink and dunk in a cloud of smoke. Like,
it's true.
You gotta start hitting some of these big ones, even if it's just like jailbreaks, like something.
Yeah.
Like, you got to start popping them, but we'll see. Ball State, Miami, another MAC team here. We talked about MAC having some fun last week with an upset, 36.5-point dogs. Neither of us believe we're going to see a MAC team upset another ACC adjacent school. And Notre Dame's kind of ACC adjacent, I guess, but
yeah,
no chance here with Ball State.
I'm not betting against Miami.
No,
I'm all in on Miami, dude. Cam Ward's so good,
so fucking easy.
Mm-hmm.
Good
been watching Aaron Rodgers film.
Yeah. Tulane heads to Oklahoma, take on Boomer Sooner. Tulane 13.5 points. They're 2-0 against the spread. Would they go last year 10-1 or something against the spread?
Something like that, yeah.
So we're banking on Tulane continuing to do Tulane things here. Would anything scare you about this Oklahoma team that could threaten other than just kind of they've got talent?
Not really. Jackson Arnold hasn't looked incredible.
No, he really hasn't.
Yeah, they struggled last week. Oklahoma did. Tulane looked really good against the K-State team. I don't see why they can't look good again.
Take care of the ball. Take care of the fucking ball. That's the big thing. Turnovers are what killed them against K-State. Can't do that again this week. All right. Notre Dame looks for some redemption here against a Purdue team that is laying 10 point or that's getting 10 points. Notre Dame laying double digits again. Are we gluttons for punishment, or do we think Notre Dame is going to wake up and they're going to stir the echoes and rally the troops? And
yeah, I think so. I feel bad for Purdue going into this one. Yeah, I mean, Marcus Freeman.
Them boys didn't have a good week at practice.
Yeah, no, they did. They did not. I don't know if they slept a whole lot this week. I'm going to be honest with you. Them echoes were stirring, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Seeing ghosts like Sam Darnold.
Utah State. We spent some time talking about Utah with Cam Rising. If I told you could have a do-over Saturday when we find out Cam Rising is out, would you take the points with Utah State?
I'm gonna look here because I know that SEC injury reports are supposed to come out tonight. I have not. Okay.
I checked before the show. I didn't see an update.
Yeah, I didn't see.
If it's hit the wire yet, but if I told you could still have 20 points with Utah State with Isaac Wilson under center against Utah, are you taking those points?
I think I'm laying them. That's 3 touchdowns. I can live with that. I don't know the Utah State scores in this game.
That's my thing. Utah State might not score, honestly. Yeah. USC's defense did a good job against them, and Utah's defense is demonstrably better than USC's.
Yep.
It might be a 21-0 game, but I think I'm going to lay the points as well, even if it's Isaac Wilson. So Utah, I think Utah's just that much better than Utah State.
I agree.
Ole Miss, Wake Forest. Ole Miss laying 24. Ole Miss is 2-0 against the spread. Jackson Dart, you mentioned it a moment ago. Probably right now the favorite to win the Heisman.
Leads the league in passing yards.
Yeah, he's crushing it. This Ole Miss offense is fucking humming. Now they haven't played the stiffest of competition to start the season, but little bit of a test against the Wake Forest team from the ACC, laying 24 points. I don't know that we're going to see much difference here. Ole Miss by a bunch.
Yep, I'm not betting against Lane Kiffin. He doesn't take his foot off the gas. I'm not betting against him.
Right. Yeah, that's how you cover spreads. Texas against UTSA. We're on opposite sides here. You've got some faith in the Roadrunners. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Texas. Are you seeing a little bit of a letdown game after Michigan though?
Did I take UTSA?
I
thought I took Texas. I put the wrong thing in.
I might have. We had that.
I did. I put UTSA in there.
Okay.
I'll go with it. Fuck it. Don't change it. Leave it.
Letdown game after Michigan?
Yeah, why not?
Sure.
They went into the big house, played incredibly. I'm going to do some on-the-spot research about the Texas schedule. They're playing UL Monroe next week, so not a look ahead. Maybe they're looking ahead 4 weeks to when they play Oklahoma. Fuck. I might be wrong here.
I'll update it for you. We can flip-flop on the show.
Give me UTSA. Fuck it. We do
All
it
right,
live, baby.
Today. Let's go.
UTSA is coming off a bad loss last week.
Yeah.
That was a wake-up call for them. They're going to come into Austin and lose by 34.
All right. Motivation. I like it. My dad says Texas.
Hey, you may not be wrong. You may not be wrong.
Georgia, Kentucky. I'm not making the same mistake 2 years in a row. Kentucky is not going to be able to slow down Georgia, even though they're playing in Lexington. Given 24 points up, I just think Georgia's got too many horses. That Kentucky team coming off a pretty stiff loss there, huh? You beat them up pretty good.
I did. We did. Somebody did.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Georgia, too much for Kentucky.
Any revenge factor for Brock Vandagriff?
I just don't know it's going to be enough.
It's not that good. He's not that good.
That motivation can only overcome so much.
Yeah.
Nebraska against Northern. That's not Northern Illinois. That's Northern
Iowa. Yeah, it's Iowa.
Northern Iowa. Sorry, I had a fucking brain fart there.
Does it matter?
Northern Iowa, Nebraska's laying. What's that?
So does it matter?
No. Nebraska's laying 30.5. You're taking the points though with Northern Iowa. You don't trust that Nebraska offense, or is it style of play?
Well, as I believe it was Shador Sanders, maybe Deion Sanders said, everyone that plays us is like playing their national championship game. So Nebraska just won the national championship last week. I expect them to kind of come back down to earth a little bit.
Okay.
They still will probably win by like 21, 24.
30's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of points. If they get up big, we may not see the ones in the fourth quarter, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. I just think it's a big talent gap.
For sure.
If they're not covering by like mid-third quarter, they might not. You might be right that they're going to start pulling people especially if it's like 28-0, they might just go into a shell. And then we finish out the normal slate before we get back to the biggest game of the week with Tennessee against Kent State. Tennessee, as we talked about earlier, that offense is rolling. I don't think Kent State's going to put up much of a fight against them. This could be 49-0 at half, and you'd be chasing like one touchdown from the second stringers, maybe. I could definitely see Tennessee running this thing up early though. All right, let's circle back to it, bud.
I don't know that Kent State scores in that game.
No, it's probably 49-0. I don't know, Deion. I mean, he's in Colorado, but Deion, I'm curious how things go. Yeah, I know, but I'm curious how things go after his sons leave. Like, is he just going to cut bait? Is that is that
I
what we're going to see?
I do not have a. I don't know. I have no idea what to expect when his kids are gone.
Yeah,
No, not a clue.
that's the thing I worry about. Like,
Because
he's got all this hype in college. He's made him relevant. Like, that's the thing I keep. Like, people keep saying like, "Oh, Dion can't win. Dion can't win. Dion can't coach up team." Blah 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 blah. But like, he's made Colorado relevant for the first time since fucking 1994 when Cordell Stewart left. Like,
yeah,
whether they win or not, that program has built new facilities. They're building a new stadium. They've fucked celebrities are there every week. They've got one of the bigger NIL boosts this year in terms of the way that their NIL has jumped for Colorado between the 2 years that he's been there. Their NIL is huge now. Not Texas A&M or fucking, Southern Methodist, but
yeah.
it's big, and he's made him relevant. And I don't know, right? And that's it, right? Is he all in? Is he
He's
going to
not
cut
all
bait?
in. He is not all in on winning.
I don't
He's
think so.
not.
He's all
He's
in on
not.
getting Travis Hunter and Shador into the top 5 in the NFL.
That is not a serious team. They
No.
commit so many penalties.
Yeah.
They lose the offensive line of scrimmage every single game. They cannot run the ball to save their fucking lives. They cannot protect Shador or Sanders. It's not a serious program. It's just it's a clown show. And it's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome.
It's fun.
They have incredible uniforms.
Yep.
Boulder is a gorgeous place. Like, but it's not a serious football program. I'm sorry. It's just they are going to be desolate whenever Travis Hunter and Shador leave that team. Yep. They just are.
Yep. It's gonna be tough.
And Jimmy Horn Jr. He's gonna be going too.
Yep. For sure. All right, well, let's get back to it, bud. You've got College Game Day in town this week.
I do.
And LSU is coming into town, leaving the Bayou for Columbia, going on the road to face the best defensive line in college football.
Yeah, that's according to PFF. That's not even biased.
Listen, we're not making this shit up. Like that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Talk to me, bud. I'm getting out of the way on this one.
I'm going to try to tamper down the excitement. Like, I can't. Next week could be a totally different story. I might be upside down on the screen next week. We don't know. But you mentioned it, right? They have the best defensive line in the country, number 1 pass rush in the country, according to PFF. My favorite part about that stat is we are the last ranked team in the country in terms of blitz rate. We rush with 4 and we pressure with 4. We do not blitz because we don't have to. We have the best true freshman in the country. The number 1 true freshman in the country. And Dylan Stewart, DMV kid, casual, not a big deal, whatever. It's fine. But just a DMV local legend. It's, it is what it is. Dylan Stewart, multiple times last week, beat triple teams coming off the edge and pressure the quarterback. He leads the country, or is tied in the lead in the country with 2 forced fumbles in 2 games, and he turns 19 on Saturday. On game day, he turns 19. Like, that is insane. Trevor Sigma of Pro Football Focus, he's their draft guru, right? Said if he was eligible to go in the draft, he'd be a top 5 pick right now. Number 1 edge rusher at 19, well, soon to be 19 years old. Not to mention Tonka Hemingway, Sanders, Kyle Kennard, Nick Emenwari, who was the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. Debo Williams, a stud middle linebacker. Like, I can't think of the other guy's name who is right on the tip of my tongue. But White, the defensive coordinator, has these boys out here hustling. We could do literally anything we want in coverage because we have the best pass rush in the country. Is it possible to run on us? Yes, it is possible to run. But if we get scores early, if we are able to force some offense, which, by the way, Michael Smith, true freshman, tight end, we're running plays for him, like design plays for him in the Kentucky game. 4-star kid coming out of high school. Pleasant surprise to me. That bad scouting department on my end, right? I wasn't aware of him coming into the season, but Lord, that kid is good. He's freaky athletic. and is huge. He's, what do they have him listed at? 6'6", 255, true freshman. Like, he's got some pop and sizzle to him out there on the edge. Like, I love that, right? Going into next year, especially when Nick Harbour is even better, and you get Michael Smith as a sophomore, and Lenore Sellers is going to be a sophomore as well, because he's still a redshirt freshman. If we're able, also another like fun fact, I mentioned Nichols or whoever the fuck played LSU last week, running for 3.9 yards a carry. Any guess who is the number one running back in the SEC in missed tackles, like forcing missed tackles? Oh yeah, Rocket Sanders. Yeah, Rocket Sanders, fucking All-American as a sophomore. He's now a senior. Yeah, number one in forced missed tackles in the SEC. Again, just something casual, something slight, not a big deal. It is what it is. If we are able to get any explosive passing offense whatsoever, we're really going to be able to put pressure on this LSU defense. And God forbid we go up a score. We go up a score, curtains, dog. Like, you turn those pass rushers loose. You let Dylan Edwards out on the side, on the edge, and he just eats, dude. Dylan Stewart, not Dylan Edwards, Dylan Stewart. He's going to eat. Now, if you are an LSU fan, you have the two best tackles in the country, like as a tandem. You have the number one tackle recruit or prospect on your left side. The names are escaping me again. I apologize for that. But then you have what is projected to be a first-round pick and maybe like the fourth or fifth best tackle playing on the right side. I believe it's Will something. I don't remember his name.
Campbell?
Montgomery, maybe? Yeah, Will Campbell. Yeah, that's the left tackle. Number one tackle prospect coming out into the draft this year, going into the NFL next season. So it's going to be a battle.
And
it's going to be the number one.
Emory Jones is the other.
Yes, Emory Jones. Yes, good call. Thank you. That will be the matchup this week. You get Kyle Kennard on one end, and you get Dylan Stewart on the other end, and you turn them boys loose, and you say, hey, we went into Lexington last weekend and beat one of the larger species of feline. And this week, we get one of the largest species of feline coming into Columbia, where could be heavy rain. Could be heavy rain Saturday. That favors the defense.
Yep.
So if you're looking for a matchup of Titans this weekend, watch that South Carolina defensive line versus that LSU offensive line, who, by the way, is down their number one back for the rest of the season. So, yeah, whatever. Do with that information what you will.
Yep, for sure.
I don't know if that gave away my pick, but I'm all in. Money line, Carolina, put the mortgage on it.
Money line, mortgage bet.
Yes.
South Kakalaki.
Yes.
Knocking off the Bayou Bengals. I like it. I like it a lot. Look, I think the matchup, it works out pretty well for you guys. I think LSU struggled to protect Nussmeier.
Yep.
In against the USC defense that I don't necessarily expect to be good throughout the season, even after watching them against LSU. I had more questions about whether I think LSU is good or not. I think despite those tackles, that you can get some pressure up the middle. Yep. You're going to see I think you're going to see a lot of TE stunts with Stewart kind of coming in and rushing more of the A and B gap off of those bends and curls around the defensive tackle.
He's so bendy, dude. He's so bendy.
Jeez, he turns the corner. He turns the corner like not quite on the level that like Von Miller did when he was like. It's close though, and he's bigger than Von Miller was.
He's like a Robert Quinn,
right, like something along the right, like an absolute fucking freak.
Yeah,
Julius Peppers, maybe something along those lines. Like that's kind of the caliber that he looks like as a freshman. I have a question for you because you've watched a lot more of South Carolina games than I have. I've caught more of kind of like highlights and recaps.
Mm-hmm. Smart by you.
What's that?
I said smart by you. They're not great on offense.
So the obvious comparison is a former Gamecock who was a game wrecker as a defensive end. Now, they are a bit different in terms of like Clowney was more of kind of a power freak of nature as a rusher, and Dylan Stewart's much more of like he's going to bend the edge and he's going to really beat up people with his ability to get off the ball. The knock on Clowney was the motor.
Yeah.
How's the motor for Dylan Stewart?
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
The dude is a freak athlete. Clowney was a freak football player.
Yeah.
Dylan Stewart is currently a freak athlete who is developing into a freaky athletic football player, right?
So he's not taking plays off like Clowney would?
No. I mean, if he's taking plays off, it's because of the scheme, right? He's playing all 4 quarters, and he's effective through all 4 quarters.
Excellent.
Clowney also carried a little more weight than did.
Yeah.
Dylan Stewart.
He was like 275 or something.
He was a big kid. Yeah, he was a big kid. And like Dylan Stewart came up to his weight currently. I think he's what was he, like 240 something? I don't have it in front of me. But he came up to the weight. He put on like 15 pounds in the offseason and is playing up, right? Because you're 18, your body's still developing, right?
Sure,
but from spring ball to fall ball coming into camp, like he put on a solid 10, 15 pounds. Nice. and is still just freaky. His bend is he's parallel coming around the corner. It's insane. Unless he gets stood up and then he's strong enough to bull, right? Like it's he goes speed to power like you don't see often. It's incredible.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Future's bright there in South Carolina.
Oh my dude,
Future's fucking bright.
A totally different tone out of me coming out of week 1 to week 2.
Yeah. I meant to follow up with this question too. So we're no longer Fire Clayton White, right?
No, we're not Fire Clayton White. We
got that a couple times last year.
Yeah, we did because well, I mean, you got to understand, right? Like last year, our defensive line was Tonka Hemingway. Like that's it. Sure. And now he's our 3rd best defensive lineman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if Tonka Hemingway is your 3rd best defensive lineman, that's pretty fucking good.
You're doing pretty good.
Yeah. And one of them is a true freshman who's getting better every single week.
Yeah.
Dog.
Yeah.
They're going to have to chip both sides of the defensive line. Like
good luck. Pick your poison.
I have not been excited about because I mean you knew me when Rattler was at Carolina. Like I was excited about the offense, right? It was Juice Wells first year Rattler, then it was Xavier Legette the second year, and then even like coming into this year, I was like, oh man, Lenore Sellers, Rocket Sanders, Nick Harbor, like we got some boys. But this defensive line, dude, like they kind of came. I knew that Dylan Stewart was going to be good. I knew that Tonka was good, but Kyle Kennard has been an added bonus I didn't really expect. I didn't expect Dylan Stewart to be this dominant as early as he is. Like this defense has been like such a surprise, and my God, I feel great about it. Like I rarely am like excited to see the defense come on the field. For all of my football life, a Washington fan, I don't think I've ever rooted for a good defense, and now I get to see it in Carolina. It's like, yeah, dude, I'm looking like. Where is freaking like Stephon Gilmore, dude? Like where is Clowney? Where is Javon Kinlaw? Like where are these boys at? Because you bring those cats down, DJ Swearinger, right? Like you bring those boys down on like a recruiting visit to see Dylan Stewart, and you have some recruits come in the house. Like we could be cooking with gas here in Columbia.
Yep, for sure. Future's bright, my friend.
Yes, it is. It can all be torn down next week.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Hopefully not. All right, bud. Well, hey, hell of an episode, man. We got a nice slate for week 3. We don't have, other than the obvious game day headed to Columbia for a big time showdown there in the SEC. We don't really have the big matchups yet, but man, we've got some big ones coming. So tune in again next week.
I got one for you.
Yeah, bud.
Unranked off the board.
Okay.
I had it pulled up. Where is it?
I love when we go off the board.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the game. Texas A&M goes to the Swamp to play Florida. Mm-hmm. Florida's at an impasse right now. So Florida they're 3.5-point dogs. Graham Mertz, their super senior quarterback, is now cleared from concussion protocol, but
DJ Lagway
threw for 4 bills last week. So now the question is, like, do we see DJ Lagway come in and start this game against Texas A&M as a freshman? And does Billy Napier try to save his job by forcing the freshman in, who admittedly looked really, really good and is the best passer that Florida's had since Spurrier was there? Like,
yeah.
I mean, what do you? I don't know how spun up you are on it, but like, what do you think? What would you like?
I think they have to, man, because Graham Mertz, like, it's September 2024, and Graham Mertz is still not a good football player, right? Like, I just I've never been impressed with him at Wisconsin. I wasn't impressed with him last year. I don't think he's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
And what I saw from Lagway last week, again against inferior competition, sure, but like that's a guy that's got some juice, man. And I think you kind of have to. Now, do you try to play the 2 quarterback system? You know how I feel about 2 quarterback systems. I don't like it. Florida got away with it when they had Tebow and Leak because Tebow was just that gifted, and that Florida team was just supremely gifted all around. But usually that 2 quarterback shit don't work, man. So if I'm Billy Napier, I think I am rolling DJ Lagway out there, even knowing what's coming to town, right? Because we saw A&M's defense look really good in week 1 against Notre Dame. I think you still run DJ Lagway out there and you see what you got in the freshman. And like you said, right, that seat might be a little warm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you can show that you've got a freshman quarterback with some juice, you might be able to talk to the AD and say, hey, listen, we got something brewing here. I don't know. What do you think, man?
I think you have to play DJ Lagway for 2 reasons, right? One, you're trying to save your season. And I think that Lagway gives them the best chance to win games. He looked incredible in his debut. Graham Mertz, like you said, is 2024, still not a good quarterback. And as well for Billy Napier trying to save his job, he can go to the AD and be like, hey, man, this kid balled out in his debut. If you want him to stay, you have to let me play him.
Yeah.
Because if I leave,
Yep.
If I leave, he leaves. Like that might be how that works. So Billy Napier's like, hey, man, this is my quarterback for the next 2 years. I need to get him on the field so that I can get him game experience so that he can grow. If you want me gone, then he's probably going to leave too. And then you're left with literally nothing.
Yep.
So I think we got to see Lagway. He may not start this game, but he might play this game.
I think it'd be a mistake if he doesn't. We know what Graham Mertz is, and it's not good.
Yeah.
We don't know what DJ Lagway is against good competition, and it might be real good.
It might be. Because,
So,
boy, he can sling that rock.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, hey, bud, appreciate you. We'll get out of here. Thanks, Dad, for tuning in, and anybody else who tunes in. This has been another episode of Tailgate Trash Talk, brought to you by Backyard Sports. We are